Tonight, Australia Day division on the streets as others unite across Victoria. Details live. Also how a body image activist rose to Australian of the Year. Novak Djokovic's dad under fire as a new political storm erupts at Melbourne Park. Mortgage holders facing a double interest rate blow. Police out in force for a bitter soccer showdown at Amy Park. And the Melbourne Sporting League introducing a no parents policy.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Victorians have celebrated and mourned on the most divided Australia Day in the nation's history. Tens of thousands protested in the city as others gathered around beaches and barbecues to welcome Australia's newest citizens. Emma O'Sullivan begins tonight's coverage.
Divisions over Australia Day are plain to see. Tens of thousands rallying at State Parliament. While just outside the city, revellers gathered for barbecues and picnics. Many took to the water, the Yarra River a prime place to spend the public holiday. For those wanting to reflect rather than celebrate, Stonington Council hosted a day of healing, featuring First Nations performers.
Healing is much more positive.
We have so much to gain if we can all come together.
In St Kilda, the day began with the annual dawn ceremony, also billed as an opportunity for reflection.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out today and celebrating such an important ceremony.
There are so many different stories.
Melbourne City Council is lobbying the federal government to change the date, but unlike Yarra, Marybeck and Darebin, still host a citizenship ceremony.
I'm really confident that whatever day we celebrate Australia, that citizenship ceremonies will remain, a central part of that.
At Port Phillip's event, 45 countries were represented.
Singapore, South Africa, Spain.
New citizens say it's about much more than a right to vote. It's about feeling at home.
Very, very emotional, much more than expected. It's a really important step for us.
For me, this just means everything.
It was a long road, but great destination.
There was no Australia Day parade this year, but official events went ahead at Government House. The Governor calling for debate over the date to remain respectful.
In a way that heals rather than in a way that wounds.
There was a 21-gun salute at the shrine to mark the National Day. Overhead, the roulettes put on a show. At Federation Square, some just enjoyed the sun. Multicultural Australia was on display. African drummers on stage, entertaining crowds queuing for a humble sausage.
And Emma O'Sullivan joins us now. Emma, official Australia Day events are continuing tonight.
Mitch, there were fewer events on in the city compared with previous years, but the free family entertainment continues here at Federation Square tonight with live performances. It will conclude with screenings of the Australian Open semi-finals later on. Over at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl, a free music festival is still underway. The Share the Spirit event is celebrating its 20th year of showcasing Australian music. The headline act there, Dan Sultan, will take to the stage later this evening. Mitch?
Emma O'Sullivan at Fed Square, thank you. Organisers are hailing this afternoon's Invasion Day rally as the largest ever seen in Melbourne. But activists used the emotion-charged march to take aim at Anthony Albanese's proposed voice to Parliament.
A battle cry on the steps of Parliament House.
This is a war!
Supporters in their thousands laying down their feelings about January 26.
Some people call this Australia Day, I heard. To me it shows the ignorance of this country.
One by one, community leaders stepped up to share concerns about the upcoming Voice to Parliament referendum.
Positions must be stated before peace talks occur. Treaty can have many outcomes. Potentially it could be a voice, but a meaningful voice, not just a consultative voice.
There's a spectrum of opinions within Aboriginal communities, and we don't want to be pushed into the binary of yes and no. We want to fight for treaty and sovereignty.
The march through the city stretched for blocks, taking over Bourke and Swanston streets. And shutting down the city's busiest intersection.
And hopefully we can persuade the opposition to change their minds about opposing the voice.
As an ally of Aboriginal people, that we need to stand up and support and say no to celebrating on this day.
While some people here are still campaigning to change the date of Australia Day, organisers say that is not a focus of this rally. Instead, they want to use it as a platform to highlight issues within First Nations communities.
They are still killing us! They are still stealing our babies!
Senator Lydia Thorpe joined a small group lying on the road to symbolise reclaiming country.
Always was, always will be Aboriginal land!
The protest ending with a change of beat, showcasing the culture elders want to honour and preserve.
And Bethan Yeoman police are praising the behaviour of the protesters.
Mitch, there was a very strong police presence here today on bikes, on motorcycles and on foot, forming a line behind the protesters to ensure everyone moved on smoothly and no arrests were made. As for numbers, police estimate the crowd at 12 to 15,000, while some activists have suggested it could have been as high as 80,000. What is clear is that support for this event keeps growing each year. Mitch.
Bethan Yeoman at State Parliament, thank you. Our new Australian of the Year now has a powerful platform for her decade-long mission to improve body image. Taryn Brumfitt took out the top honour in Canberra and is already seizing the opportunity to push for change.
On the shores of Lake Burley Griffin, a symbolic moment. The Australian, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island flags raised together. As the Prime Minister, Governor-General and new Australian of the Year, Taryn Brumfitt,
you're more important than either of us,
welcomed our newest Australians.
Joining us as proud citizens of the greatest country on earth.
A country Taryn Brumfitt is fighting to make even better.
I'm really fired up to get this right.
Named Australian of the Year last night, the body image activist has made it her mission to help women and children love the way they look.
We weren't born into the world hating our bodies. This is something the world has taught us.
A decade-long campaign which began unintentionally with this post, an unconventional before and after photo that went viral, using her own path to acceptance to launch a global body positivity movement.
It's learning to move, nourish, respect and enjoy our bodies, because you can't look after something you don't love.
Others honoured include Socceroo Awamabil, named Young Australian of the Year. Senior Australian of the Year went to Professor Tom Karma, and Amar Singh from charity Turbans for Australia, named Local Hero of the Year.
This is just one of more than 420 ceremonies being held right around the country today, where close to 20,000 people pledged their loyalty to their new home and became Australian citizens.
Today's a day that's important to celebrate who we are, but also to recognise the changing nature of Australia.
The Prime Minister recommitting to an Indigenous voice to Parliament with a referendum later this year.
We need to come together as one people and celebrate this day together instead of it's us and them.
But for many, it's not that simple. Rob Scott, 7 News.
The father of tennis star Novak Djokovic is under fire for posing with pro-Russian fans at the Australian Open. It sparked a new political storm at Melbourne Park as spectators clashed with security guards.
Wading through the crowd, Novak Djokovic's father Serdan stops to pose with a man holding the Russian flag, featuring Vladimir Putin. The same man stood on the steps of Rod Laver Arena, surrounded by 4 others with Russian flags, all smuggled through security. Guards who asked the men to leave were threatened. Police were called in. The comfort and safety of everyone is our priority, and we work closely with security and authorities.
It's very traumatizing to see in a free democratic country like Australia, which is a big supporter of Ukraine, these flags displayed in the way they were displayed.
During the quarter-final match between Novak Djokovic and Russia's Andrei Rublev, this man removed a white T-shirt, revealing a black T-shirt. On it, a banned symbol.
It's a symbol which is used by Russia for their invasion of Ukraine. It's a mark which is on all the Russian equipment.
This sort of behaviour, it's disruptive, it's disrespectful and it's unacceptable.
And it's making international headlines.
There's a certain breathless nature to it. You know, the tabloid media in the UK is as strong as it ever has been, and they will eat this up, of course.
Wimbledon is yet to decide if it will ban Russian players.
Everything points to the fact that they were going to U-turn on that ban. I think this will definitely make them have second thoughts.
The actions of last night could be far-reaching, as Ukrainian Australians now fear that those images could be used as propaganda to imply to the Russian population that Australia supports the war. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
A savage attack in South Melbourne has left a man with critical injuries. He was rushed to the Alfred Hospital after a vicious assault on York Street around 3:20 this morning. 2 men aged 18 and 20 have been arrested over the alleged attack and are assisting police. 2 people have survived a plane crash at South Stradbroke Island on the Gold Coast. The aircraft crashed into the water shortly after it took off. Rescuers say it was a slower trip to the wreckage because of how busy the area was with Australia Day traffic. The pilot and passenger was assessed by paramedics at the scene, but were not injured. Homeowners are set to become the unintended victims of the Reserve Bank's battle to contain inflation. The RBA is expected to increase interest rates again next month, hitting many with a double mortgage blow.
The rising cost of almost everything is forcing the Reserve Bank into rising rates too.
So I'm switching to variable and I'm looking at about $750 extra per month.
Squashing inflation means squashing many homeowners. Marin Kraljevic is part of the 23% of Australians on fixed rates that end this year. A wave of homeowners who need to make room in their budget.
Reducing discretionary spending, looking at all my sort of bills, streaming services, all that sort of thing, and cutting out what I can, but it's really going to make a difference in what I can put aside for emergencies.
The Federal Treasurer says we may be past the peak of the cost of living crisis, but those falling off a mortgage cliff this year need to hold on a bit longer.
If we can get through the first 6 months of this year, you may find that rates could even drop towards the end of this year.
Inflation's at its highest in 32 years.
There are some signs that it's slowing. The latest ANZ card data shows about a 5% fall in spending in January.
Financial homework here can be so important. Money experts recommend preparing for a mortgage change months in advance. Call your bank, call your broker and check what better rates are available.
There's a difference of 0.5% between what new borrowers are getting and what existing borrowers are getting.
Also, ring around when insurance renewals and power bill contracts come to an end. Marin is already on the front foot, voluntarily increasing his repayments in line with rate rises.
So I'm currently ahead of my mortgage as it stands, which means there'll be a little bit of a buffer once I do hit the variable rate.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Overseas, the US has confirmed it will send some major military firepower to Ukraine. 31 Abrams tanks will be shipped to Kyiv. The announcement coordinated with Germany, which has agreed to send 14 of their own. A birthday present of sorts for Volodymyr Zelensky.
As I told President Zelensky when he was here, and today's his birthday, by the way, in December, we're with you for as long as it takes.
Moscow, unsurprisingly, condemned the move, calling it blatant provocation. Former US President Donald Trump will soon be back on Facebook and Instagram. Meta, the company that runs the social media platforms, has announced his 2-year suspension will end in coming weeks. Mr. Trump was blocked from his accounts in 2021 following the Capitol riots. He was also banned from Twitter, but was allowed back on the site last November. Tim Watson's here with a look ahead to sport. And Tim, there's another AFL injury blow ahead of round one.
Mitchell star forward has been sidelined. We'll have those details soon. Also, the Tigers ramp up their pre-season training. Why Dustin Martin could be making a permanent move forward. The Aussie Wildcards double act through to the decider at Melbourne Park. See how an Uber delivery rider nearly caused courtside chaos, and Ben Simmons copped some harsh treatment in his return to Philadelphia. That's coming up soon, Mitch. I'll see you again.
OK, thanks very much, Tim. Victorian parents are facing a major crackdown over ugly behaviour at junior sporting events. The details are next on 7 News. Also coming up, the Australian bank scammed out of hundreds of millions of dollars. A police chopper under attack in a deadly shootout. A close call for motorists in Melbourne's east.
And it's heating up over the next few days. I'll have the full details later in 7 News.
Police are on high alert at Amy Park tonight. Mitch Cleary has the latest. And Mitch, they're promising a zero-tolerance approach.
Peter, police have promised a stronger and highly visible presence tonight for Melbourne Victory's game against arch-rivals Sydney. It also coincides with the return of active supporter group Original Style Melbourne back for their first game since they sparked that massive pitch invasion in December. Their typical seating behind the goals at this northern end has been shut off. Instead, they've been telling group members to buy tickets in a nearby pocket of the ground. They also concede the stakes have never been higher. Victory face a 10-point deduction on the A-League table for any further offences. Amy Park expecting 10,000 fans, including Sydney supporters tonight, with the ban on purchasing matchday tickets lifted just last week. The front 3 rows of the entire stadium remain vacant tonight, as well as seats at both ends behind the goals. Peter?
Mitch Cleary on Olympic Boulevard, thank you. One of Australia's biggest banks has lost hundreds of millions of dollars in a sophisticated scheme. ANZ provided more than $400 million in finance to 2 companies, both owned by the same man. A Hong Kong court has found the scammer forged documents in order to secure the loans. ANZ declined to comment. One of Victoria's most powerful junior football leagues is introducing a new no parents policy. The controversial plan is designed to crack down on ugly parents, abusing umpires and young players.
The Yarra Junior Football League is fed up with aggressive parents, moving to keep them behind the fence for good.
Holding off another attack.
Post-COVID, I think there's been a deterioration in the behaviour of people at our games.
The league will ban parents entering the field at both quarter and three-quarter time.
As parents, we've got to really take a mirror and have a look and have a good think about our behaviour, because it has got out of control.
It follows similar moves from other junior leagues to improve safety, including South East and Frankston.
It's not a problem isolated to the YJFL, or Australian rules football. This is a problem in junior sport.
You see parents at an under-9 game who think that there's an Olympic gold medal at stake. The only thing that counts is that your kid has a great time.
The league also hopes to trial the introduction of a white card that umpires can use to address any aggression from the sidelines. The number of juniors signing up continues to grow, so the league says the ban could have another benefit, helping organisers get through a packed matchday schedule in a reasonable time. Spectators will still be permitted to step onto the field after each game. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
A 15-year-old girl is among a group of heroes who stopped 2 armed robbers in their tracks. They sprung into action when they saw the pair robbing a tobacco store with a gun in Sydney. A teenage girl held the men down with her knee.
It was really shocking as well, because the young co-worker, she's only 15, and she went straight on it. They were pushing her back and stuff, and she's still pinned them to the ground.
A 56-year-old woman joined in, taking the keys out of the getaway car. Overseas, a gunman has been shot dead in his backyard after opening fire on a police helicopter as it hovered above. He lured the chopper with a laser pointer, then started shooting without warning.
He might be armed. He almost looks like he's holding a long gun pointed at us right now.
A surface-to-air attack in downtown Detroit.
Yeah, he's shooting at us right now. He's firing rounds.
A barrage of bullets fired from the backyard of this abandoned home. Its target, a patrolling police helicopter.
He had a rifle staged at one of the windows that this was some type of ambush that he had thought that he was going to set up.
Officers had been lured in.
We got somebody hitting us with a green laser.
A laser pointer attracting attention.
He just closed that window. Now there's somebody standing at the back door.
Before gunfire, the rounds narrowly missing, sparking a rapid and fatal police response on the ground.
Troopers returned fire. The suspect was hit and went down.
Neighbours watching on as officers swarmed the property.
First I heard the helicopter. So the helicopter was just, swarming around. And then I heard like 4 gunshots.
A search of the home revealing more guns and more ammunition.
We recovered quite a few shell casings already in the backyard when they just went through.
In the United States, David Woywood, 7 News.
New details are emerging about Hollywood actor Jeremy Renner's devastating accident. He was trying to stop his sliding snowplow from hitting his nephew when he was pinned under and crushed by the 6-ton vehicle. An incident report says Renner was forced to jump out without setting the emergency brake when it started sliding. The 52-year-old is continuing his recovery after breaking more than 30 bones in the accident. Back home, motorists on the Eastern Freeway had a close encounter with a hot air balloon during their morning commute. The balloon was descending towards an oval at Yarra Bend. In order to make the landing, it was forced to fly low over the freeway, giving drivers an unexpected close-up view. Activists and actors are headlining this year's Australia Day Honours list. Their incredible stories are next on 7 News. Also coming up, hero passengers fight back in a deadly train rampage. Why scientists say we're a step closer to life on Mars. And the bike victim who brought the snake with him to hospital. The late singer-songwriter Archie Roach leads the roll call of great Australians being honoured on our National Day. The list includes community leaders, actors, artists, researchers and reformers. As diverse as they are, the Governor-General says they all have one thing in common. They are humble heroes. Nick McCallum compiled this report.
These Aussies devoted to entertaining and informing us, to promoting and furthering sport, to enriching the community with good deeds, among more than 1,000 on the Australia Day Honours list. Singer and member of the Stolen Generation Archie Roach, who died last July, now a companion of the Order of Australia, our highest honour.
I think it's a wonderful honour. I think Archie would have been really, really chuffed about it.
But he would have felt conflicted about receiving it on Australia Day.
Changing it may not solve everything for everybody, but geez, it's a pretty good start, isn't it?
Feeling the same way about his honour, veteran director Philip Noyce. His movie Rabbit Proof Fence exposed the horrors of the Stolen Generation.
It makes me sad that it's on that day. It's an honour. I'm proud to call myself an Australian, but it's a sad day.
You might be having a baby.
No way. She's having a baby.
Actor and producer Claudia Carvin sees her recognition as defying her industry's conventional wisdom.
Particularly when you're being told, okay, when you're in your 20s as an actor, that's your peak, and now 30 years later, I don't know about that. I would dispute that description.
David Wenham's recently been on stage in Melbourne. He starred in the Lord of the Rings movies and in TV's Sea Change, but was surprised by his honour.
I happen to have a public profile. Most of the people who have been honoured today don't, but they have done extraordinary things within their own community.
Jean Kitson honoured for leading the vanguard of young female comedians in the 1980s.
We eat Cantonese. We eat Lebanese. We eat Wheaties.
And I still love comedy and how it can lift the spirit.
Amanda Elliott's recognised for breaking through the gender barrier, the first female chair of the then 155-year-old VRC.
I think it did need to change. I think the world has decided that women can actually run things, even racing.
Maureen Hafey, widow of Richmond coaching legend Tommy, honoured for her devotion to the Tigers. In the 1960s, she campaigned for players' wives and girlfriends.
And we didn't have any creches then, and so, that was great that we were able to organise that for the mothers.
Cartoonist at the Australasian Post for 48 years, Vane Lindsay thought his days of awards were over at 102.
Astonishing, surprising, but I'm very pleased about it, of course. Who wouldn't be?
But 93-year-old Margaret Gileri epitomises the honours spirit, knitting tiny clothes for premature babies for 35 years.
I get a lot of joy out of it. I've had a lot of pleasure out of it over the years. It's very satisfying to help others.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Congratulations to all recipients. The operator of one of Australia's most controversial coal mines has been accused of corruption and fraud by an activist investment firm. Adani Group's stock price plummeted after the accusations, and Gautam Adani's personal wealth dropped by more than $5 billion, despite the company denying the claims. Adani Group runs the Carmichael coal mine in Queensland. There's been a deadly stabbing attack on a train in Germany. 2 people were murdered and 7 others injured on a regional train travelling between Kiel and Hamburg in northern Germany. Police arrested a suspect aged in his 30s. It's unclear how the attack ended, but police have praised other passengers from preventing an even greater tragedy. Researchers have revealed a bold plan they say could one day see human life born on other planets. Australian scientists are now exploring whether IVF is possible in space.
Since 1998, humans have lived in space.
We have ignition and liftoff of the first expedition to the International Space Station.
And now scientists are looking at other planets and dreaming of life on Mars.
There is a plan to travel to Mars soon. In the next 10 or 15 years, we want to have an alternative planet as a species.
Next year, scientists will transport mice embryos to the International Space Station in the hope that if they survive, human embryos could too.
Sex, we believe, has occurred on occasion in the space station. How are we going to get a whole population to Mars? It's hard to imagine we're going to transport hundreds of people. There will have to be hundreds of embryos.
But the technology to move the embryos must be smaller than these nitrogen tanks.
The freezing technology has not changed in 30 or 40 years. We hope this project will give us a stimulus to change that.
Researchers believe the new technology required to transport the embryos to space will also have major implications on Earth and could dramatically reduce the cost of IVF here in Australia. As science fiction becomes a new reality.
I think it's really important to dream because I think it is going to happen. Probably will happen, probably in my lifetime.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
A snakebite victim has taken the deadly reptile into a Queensland hospital, causing chaos in the emergency room. He brought it in a jar, thinking it would be easier for doctors to identify it. Then nurses called in a snake catcher.
This here is much more venomous than a red-bellied black snake. This is exactly what I thought it would be.
Just didn't see it, stood straight on it and
and decided to give me a love bite.
It turned out to be the elusive but deadly eastern small-eyed snake. There's a major shift in the Australian car market. Next, why snaring a bargain is about to get much easier. Also coming up, a man in custody over the mystery disappearance of his mum. Australian sport rocked by a new gay pride storm. And a copper comes a cropper in a croc fight. There is breaking news tonight. A young boy is fighting for life after being hit by lightning. He'd been swimming at a beach near Wollongong when he was struck.
I turned around and I saw the kid and their parents. They were crying and they were holding the baby, and they coming to the shore, and someone saying that, okay, help, help, help.
It's understood he went into cardiac arrest. Paramedics have only just been able to restart his heart. The boy will now be flown to hospital for further treatment. A man is in custody as police launch a desperate search for his missing mother. Today, a Queensland court was told the missing woman was afraid her son might kill her in the days leading up to her disappearance. She called 000, but when police arrived to her Gold Coast home 45 minutes later, she'd vanished. Detectives say they found large pools of blood and a trail leading out the front door. Her 30-year-old son is facing a string of charges in relation to her disappearance. A gay pride storm has erupted in the National Basketball League. Cairns Taipans players refused to wear their pride jersey for the special NBL round, citing a barrage of abuse and harmful commentary directed at the team.
We're doing this because we got around our brothers and we want to protect each other, and rather than feel like we're getting signalled out for any particular reason, this is us, right? And I'm proud of them for it.
Melbourne United says it will proudly wear the jersey to support Isaac Humphries, who came out late last year. The second-hand car boom is beginning to fade as new models flood the market. Prices are falling quickly, with factories finally returning to normal after 3 years of COVID delays.
Used car markets, it seems, are the one place where prices aren't rising, falling steadily since last year after the surge in prices seen during the pandemic.
People are starting to panic buy and thinking that the world's going to end. I think the market is just coming back to where it should be.
Some insiders say it's dropped as much as 25%.
I've noticed a drop of probably 25, maybe a little touch higher, depending on the type of car. Some cars haven't dropped at all.
Among the biggest reductions, the prestige market, with Mercedes, BMW and Porsche easing significantly. The changes driven by improving delivery times for new cars.
In general, new car demand is still there, but supply is increasing.
Investment bank Moody's says prices have been falling since a high in May last year. The word is used car prices will continue to fall in the coming months, possibly levelling off around Easter, and that could be a great time to pick up a bargain, although prices are still about 50% above what they were before COVID hit.
We will see this trend continue to improve as rates continue to rise and people start cancelling the orders they had in place previously.
Your hybrids and your electric cars aren't going to fall too much further, but I think your normal cars will start to drop a little bit more, probably another 5 or 6%.
Evan Batten, 7 News.
Billionaire Bill Gates has teamed up with an Australian company in a war on gas from animals. He's partnered with Australian startup Ruminate to develop a special dietary supplement designed to cut methane emissions from cows. Animals like cows and goats produce that gas when breaking down hard fibres like grass. The supplement is made from red seaweed, which helps stop the production of gas. A WA police officer has taken on a croc lurking on a suburban street. Armed with a towel, the officer tried to capture the roaming reptile, but it snapped back. Eventually, it was wrangled and released into the Fitzroy River. Recent floodwaters are believed to have brought a wave of the unexpected visitors. Sport is next with Tim Watson and Tim. High praise tonight for a Tigers star.
Mitch, Dustin Martin could be set for a new role this season. We'll have the details next. Also, how James Sicily has put himself in the driver's seat to be the next Hawks captain. Also, double delight for the Aussie Wildcards, now one win away from Grand Slam glory. The weekend camp set to kickstart Australia's Indian quest as Elise Perry makes a powerful pre-game statement. And the cheeky Macca's run that brought a basketball game to a halt. Welcome back. Dustin Martin is stepping up his return to full fitness, taking part in the practice match today at Punt Road. But there are still doubts on Tom Lynch's hopes ahead of round one.
Apparently everyone's flying, but this man's form holds extra weight. After just 9 games last year, mourning the sad passing of his dad, sources say Dustin Martin is leaving no stone unturned to rediscover his best.
He's in a great spot. He hasn't really missed a session at all, so hopefully a really exciting year ahead for him.
The 31-year-old star spending the entire match simulation up forward. Key recruit Jacob Hopper looks over degenerative knee issues.
He does a little bit less on one of the training days, but for majority of the pre-season he's been able to do all the work and looks good. Star
forward Tom Lynch still hasn't trained since foot surgery, set to step up running in coming weeks. 4 umpires officiating, a sign of change is expected this season. A blow for Hawthorn, Mitch Lewis has injured his knee. The emerging star forward to miss the start of the season with a partially torn ACL. Sources indicate James Sicily is highly likely to become the Hawks' next captain. Sicily teeing off with Luke Bruce ahead of the Players Series tournament in Rosebud, golf playing a role in Sicily's pending appointment.
He pretty much forced himself to get out and play golf and learn golf and get better at it so that he could then play with some of our senior guys and build those relationships.
Bruce is the only premiership Hawk left. The 32-year-old, originally from New South Wales, rejecting a lucrative offer from the Giants.
My wife's got a good job and I've been in Melbourne now for 15 years and are quite settled.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Novak Djokovic admits he's got extra fire in the belly as he closes in on a 10th title at the Australian Open. The former world number 1 dismantled Andrei Rublev in a heated quarter-final with no shortage of temper tantrums. He conceded just 7 games en route to equalling Andre Agassi's record-winning streak of 26 matches at Melbourne Park.
You could say that there's something extra this year. Yeah, the injury and, what happened last year. And then I just, wanted to really do well.
Djokovic has never been beaten in a semi-final at the Oz Open, meaning there's an almighty task ahead for American Tommy Paul. The dream is still alive for an Aussie title, though, at Melbourne Park. Jason Kubler and Ricky Hijikata are into the men's doubles decider after a straight sets win in the semis.
Kubler and Hijikata into the final. Unbelievable feeling, both of us, and we get a rest day tomorrow, which is great, and then play Saturday.
The pair of wildcards hoping to replicate the Special Ks last year after Nick Kyrgios and Thanasi Kokkinakis took out the title. To cricket, and Australia's quest to conquer India will ramp up in the coming days with several stars checking in for a spin camp. Victorians Peter Hanscom and Todd Murphy will be among them as the Melbourne Renegades dream of Big Bash glory.
He's one of the best players of spin in the country. Peter Hanscom is doing everything he can should the opportunity arise in India. The Victorian captain fine-tuned his game today with the help of state teammate John Holland. Tomorrow, Hanscom will join other Test squad members in Sydney for a specialised spin camp before they depart for India on Tuesday. The last time the Renegades were in the BBL finals, they won the lot.
It was quite a similar sort of season. We weren't the standout team, but we were able to just keep finding a way to win.
The men in red only secured third spot and a home final thanks to Brisbane's epic collapse against Hobart.
Yeah, the group chat was busy. I think a few of the boys were at the pub watching. I'm sure they would have had a few more when we got the result go our way. So.
The Stars almost produced another late curveball.
David Warner might be out. He is.
But the Thunder held on to win and set up a clash against the Heat. The winner of that match to play the Renegades at Marvel Stadium on Sunday. The extra few days break crucial for Kane Richardson as he battles back soreness.
Richo, obviously a little bit sore, so he'll be hopefully ready to go on Sunday.
Down in Hobart, Elise Perry and teammates showed support for Ash Gardner with the Indigenous flag on their socks before taking on Pakistan tonight after Gardner's public criticism of playing a fixture on Australia Day. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Rory McIlroy's bitter feud with Patrick Reed flared up in a bizarre incident at the Dubai Desert Classic. McIlroy didn't acknowledge Reed on the driving range ahead after he defected to the Live Tour. Reed then appeared to throw a tee at McIlroy, calling him an immature little child.
Like, you can't pretend like nothing's happening, right? I think that's the thing. It's like, why? That's, we're living in reality here. He's not.
10 players from the Live Tour are playing in the European sanctioned event. Ben Simmons wasn't spared any love in his return to Philadelphia. Fans showed their feelings towards the Aussie, who requested a trade to Brooklyn a year ago. Former teammate Joel Embiid was fired up against Simmons, who finished with 12 points.
Simmons turns it over. Did you see Joel Embiid? After that last dunk, he looked right at Ben Simmons and started to chirp.
Nothing went right for Simmons, much to the delight of the victorious 76ers. Meanwhile, Warriors superstar Steph Curry was ejected for throwing his mouthguard in frustration at not getting the ball from his teammate. It's considered unsportsmanlike behaviour. Luckily, his splash brother, Klay Thompson, stepped up to help secure a 2-point win. And this has to be one of the weirdest moments we've seen in basketball. An Uber Eats delivery driver interrupted a college game in Pittsburgh, casually walking onto the court. The referee couldn't believe what he was seeing, having to call a time-out. Your Aussie pizza's on the way too, by the way, with pineapple. Is that right?
Did he find his target, or was the food cold?
I'm not quite sure, Mitch.
Tim, you have them for sure. Jane Barn is next with the forecast. And Jane, it looks like a great day tomorrow.
Absolutely, Mitch. It will have bright sunshine and a warm day. It's a cracking end to the week. Then it heats up. Full details are next. Hello again. There was some inclement weather this morning, and the afternoon was all about increasing sunshine, and from tomorrow, warming temperatures too. It was 16 this morning. It had only just reached 20 at midday, but when the sun properly came out, it felt much nicer. Warm sunshine offset by a cool breeze. We reached 22 in the city, mid-20s away from the beach and 20 down the coast. Here are the showers rolling through this morning, mainly over southeastern suburbs, but the odd one making it up into the north. They cleared early afternoon and the cloud followed suit. A band of cloud is crossing Victoria with drizzle and brief showers affecting the south. Sunshine slowly returned to the southwest of the state. Well, the sun was there for much of the day in the north, but much of Gippsland did remain under this cloud all afternoon, with spots of drizzle still out there now. Big thunderstorms did fire up in eastern parts of New South Wales, but nothing for us today. The Murray River went below minor flooding last night at Wentworth. Now, the red here shows the Darling River up in the corner there. That is still in a major flood, but that's not likely to affect the Murray. This is the first time since October with no flood warnings in Victoria. A cold front crossed Tasmania earlier today, ushering in cooler air for Victoria, but the limited wet weather. The next high, it is quick. It's already out to our east by the morning. The next cold front is strong. Look how far it stretches up into the interior. It has a feed of moisture from the tropics, but the high acts like a stop sign, and the front will slide through here on Saturday. Watch as the juicy rain band peters out as it crosses the state later Saturday into Sunday, but then re-intensifies over the east. It's just most of Victoria that misses the rain thanks to where the high is sitting. There's a lot of rain in the week ahead over the northern half of Australia and down the far east coast as well. Around the nation tomorrow, 32 in Brisbane, there is the risk of late storms. No more storms for Sydney, cooler, grey and showery tomorrow. Cloudy in Canberra, warm in Hobart, hot in Adelaide, mild in Perth on the other side of the front. To Victoria, cloud clears Gippsland early morning. It lingers only in the far east until early afternoon. Otherwise, sunny out there, light and variable winds let it turn warm to hot. Gippsland is mild though, with sea breezes. Closer in, it is a cool start, right down to 9 in Yarra Glen, but it doesn't last. We quickly warm up under bright sunshine, mid to high 20s around the bay, low 30s in outer suburbs. Even the winds are light, it's a great day. The city quickly warms from 13, a top of 27, bright sunshine and a pleasant Friday night. On the 8-day outlook of the hot day is Saturday, expecting 35. There's a cool change due late afternoon or early in the evening, and a bit of drizzle follows that one. That lasts into a gloomy Sunday, grey skies, 22, a bit of drizzle. Then we'll have foggy starts and sunny afternoons next week. 27 tomorrow, full sunshine, light winds, so a cracking Friday, hot Saturday, Mitch.
Sounds like a ripper tomorrow. Thank you very much, Jane. Now here's what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, going to be a hot one, from boy band to global stardom.
He's wiggling his way to the top and stealing hearts. The Purple Wiggle live and exclusive.
See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 26th of January. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.